And then I've seen some great acts to follow tonight. They're pretty difficult for a country dog. But this is an outstanding award. When Debbie called me, I just almost lost it, and I'm tremendously humbled and honored by the award. Ralph Jordan Jr. and I did serve on the trustee selection committee on 2 occasions when we had large seats, and we were fortunate enough to interview Auburn people from New Jersey to Texas to all over. And Ralph and I were tremendously impressed with the huge number of Auburn graduates with outstanding talent, accomplishments, brains, and so it certainly gives me a perspective to get this honor of some 200,000 alumni. That we pick 4 people a year, and I'm one of them this year. It's a tremendous honor. I want to thank all my friends from DeKalb County. Of course, you've seen Walter Weatherly tonight, but I actually grew up in Crossville and Fort Payne, and so I grew up in DeKalb County. And then I've got a great group of my Marshall County friends that are here tonight, and I'm really grateful to them. And of course, I've practiced there 40 years, and Carol and I have lived there 50 years, and so I really appreciate their presence. I'm also grateful, of course, to have my family here. You saw them really cleaned up. They look good in those pictures. But a great 3 kids, all Auburn graduates with their spouses, my 7 grandchildren, 2 of whom, as you saw, are Auburn students. 2 more will enter Auburn this fall. We'll be losing 1 to medical school, but gaining 2, so we'll have a net of 3 grandchildren here next year. But my genetic connection to Auburn University really began in 1917 when Ralph Christopher, my father, came out of the woods of Choctaw County, Alabama, from a 1-room school with 11 grades. He'd never heard of calculus or algebra or several other things, but he found out about it at Auburn in a hurry. He finished at Auburn, did graduate work at Cornell, and then after stints as a vocational ag teacher, then a county agent, became one of the founding directors of the experiment station. And the one that he began was the one at Crossville, Alabama. I would incidentally mention that Dame Marion Funches, that the building over here is named for, was the first person I met outside the family of just a truly brilliant guy. We knew them real well. They stayed in our home. There weren't any motels in Crossville, so when they visited Crossville, we stayed there. And he now has about 14 descendants who are Auburn graduates and has 4 great-grandchildren attending Auburn at the present time. But life was good, and my 2 brothers that are here tonight might argue with that because we learned the wrong end of a hoe and all that stuff growing up, but life was good at Crossville. We had great parents who were both ex-teachers and taught us well, taught us with affection and with high expectations. Comment, if you made a B, well, if you're satisfied with that, or is that the best you can do, and so we were motivated. And then we had an outstanding cadre of teachers there. My high school experience, I marvel sometimes kids want to get out of high school. Carol and I go all the way back to dating in high school, but we had a great time in high school. I had great friends, like you saw Jack Locklear tonight. We played football together and still contact with a lot of those people, and very fortunate growing up in that community. I entered Auburn in June of 1951, and probably the most important coincident thing is Coach Jordan and Coach Beard got here that spring about 2 months before I did, but that certainly had a very positive influence on us. I had great fun here working on the campus, and great professors, great preparation. Worked at the Plainsman and student government and a lot of things, and I really had a great time. And I realize now I was behind the curve and kind of dumb because these guys had figured it out now, and they stretch any 4-year curriculum now to 5 or 6 years. And it's the most fun I ever had in my life, and dumb me went off to medical school in 3 years. I got a little acceptance. But also my father sure appreciated it because he was tired of sending kids to professional school. And so the training at the medical school was good. I worked hard, but it was very, very positive. And then I went to Dallas, Texas, University of Texas Southwestern for postgraduate training. And then Carolyn and the boys and I came back to Gainesville and began a practice in 1961, which was ever growing and a widely expanding practice. and all aspects of family medicine. And it was extremely enjoyable. And everything went along well until 1967. I get a personal letter from President Johnson, and he invited me to join the United States Navy. Went to Navy Memphis and really had a great time for a year there. And it was almost like a mini residency because I was working with a lot of white guys just out of residency. They'd been chief residents and so forth. And so, as was chronicled here in the clip, I had almost a year, and it was getting to be a short-timer, and you knew, if you made it past a year, the commitment for a doctor was 2 years. You weren't going to Vietnam, or you weren't going to see which is, leaving your family also. But right before the year was up, our personnel officer called me up and said, "Commander, I need to see you after lunch." And I said, that's not too good. And so I went up there, and he said, "You've been assigned as a commander of a Navy MILFAP team in Vietnam, and you report 12 May to Saigon." And I said, "What in the bleep is a MILFAP team?" He said, "I don't know, I never heard of it." What it was a group of 3 physicians and a chief petty officer and 14 corpsmen. We're supposed to advise people at that level in Vietnam at a hospital. But it turned out, really, they had good nurses and nurse practitioners, but they didn't have really any staff, and we became the medical staff. And so it was a phenomenal year. We ran 200 to 400 patients, depending on how active our area was, and it was always active. One of my best friends was an intelligence officer. I'd say, "Delaware, what's the word tonight?" And he'd say, "Cloudy with mortars." And so they kept us awake a lot. It really wasn't that dangerous, but it was by far the most, from a humanitarian aspect, the most profitable year of my life. And although I never learned to speak much Vietnamese, when they would bow and tell you thank you, Dr. Bác Sĩ, in Vietnamese, you knew how grateful they were. And most of those people not having been to a doctor, they had never seen a doctor. So it was extremely worthwhile. But as Carol and I progressed in getting the kids educated, and came back to Gunnersville in a practice, a real active practice, and very diverse, but I never missed an opportunity. I actually treated, of course, hundreds of families. I never missed an opportunity to try to do a little PR for Auburn, whether it was recruiting students or raising money or politically, athletically, anything I could get involved in. A few words would slip out to promote Auburn. But again, as Carol and I progressed and getting the kids educated, and sometimes it seemed like that would never end, but it did. I got involved in the Alabama Academy of Family Physicians, and then became president and chairman of the board, and became struck by the fact that we used to talk about the ratio of that 40% of our counties had 70% of the doctors, and that's still a big problem. But I became extremely interested in it, motivated, and perhaps some people said obsessed with the idea of doing something about rural health care in Alabama. So I spent an inordinate amount of my time away. My hobby became working on that, driving to Mobile, or driving to Montgomery, or flying to somewhere. And I worked intensely with that, and we made a huge amount of progress, so that we still have a long way to go because of economic issues and other things. But I cannot, again, say how grateful I am and how much this means to me, how much it would have meant to my father. Obviously it means a lot to, like, my friend Bill Coleman, who went to UAB and UAH, but has other links. My brother, one brother here, who is an Alabama graduate, can you believe they came all the way here tonight to see this? But it means a tremendous amount to me to have this honor, because I do love Auburn. It's been part of my life as long as I can remember. And I've been blessed very much to have so many things to be thankful for. A great family, and I've had good health. I think I missed 2 or 3 days work in 40 years. And years of practicing family medicine and that touching so many lives. I had 15,000 active charts when I retired. And I had great people, good, hardworking, honest North Alabama people, urban and rural, that I treated and had wonderful relationships with them. And aside, this week, one of my beautiful granddaughters played in the Final Four in 4A basketball in Birmingham. And a lady from a rural community called Grant, about 15 miles out, called me to tell me, I treated the family a long time, that I watched Caroline in that basketball game and I was pulling for her the whole game, and it just, it's the touch you have with families. And so it was a wonderful experience, a wonderful career. I wouldn't change a thing. Bill Coleman and I worked very much in training family docs and recruiting family docs, and he and I both have trained or taught medical students and residents in our offices. And if I were starting again, I'd be a family doc and do what I did before. So I can't think of any better recognition and end to my career in whatever accomplishments I had in my career than this award tonight from Auburn University. Again, thank you.